What is going on, everybody? ZyoniK here, and in today's video, the Great League is finally back. All 3 leagues are available. We got triple Stardust or 4 times. There's a Stardust bonus this week as well. It is the holidays, so happy holidays to you all. I got my festive sweater on today. And we're running the new top performing team from PV Poke. Yes, the meta is finally shifting. Skeledirge is becoming top dog or top crocodile. We also got Credilli, which is a very nice core breaker, pretty bulky, pretty spammy. And then Poliwrath, obviously. Now, my Poliwrath is a bit different than what PV Poke recommends, and that's because I love the charge move spam with Mudshot as a fast move. Counter is legacy, so I wouldn't TM away your counter. If you guys have counter, just keep using that. But I have 2 Poliwraths built, and I'm using the Mudshot one today. So I'm guessing you guys have tried this team. I think a lot of other people have been talking about it because I saw the tweet from PV Poke. But what do you guys think about this team? Which of these Pokemon do you think is best in this meta? I mean, it's hard. It's a hard toss-up, Skeledirge or Poliwrath. I don't think Credilli is his top performer, but it's one of those two. But yeah, hope you guys enjoy. All right, getting into the first battle, Skeledirge versus Shadow Swampert. Well, obviously, this is not a good matchup, so we're going to go ahead and go into that Poliwrath and start getting ahead on energy. They're deciding to stay in and look to go for a Hydro Cannon right away. This is fine. We resist it, right, as Poliwrath is the part water type. And then we get to see a Skarmory come in. Now, this Skarmory is Steel Wing as the fast move, which I think really helps out the Poliwrath because we resist that, right? And Icy Wind does some nice neutral damage. Now, this matchup is a bit better if we do have counter because of its heavy neutral damage. It really starts to add up. So in order for me to win this mid-game matchup and get switch, I do get an attack drop there with Scald as well. I'm going to have to double shield in order to maintain switch here. And I really want that alignment because obviously the Credilli against Swampert is a very good matchup. So we're going to go ahead and go for the Icy Wind now. They decide to no shield, and I'm going to look to commit to farm down here. I'm going to go ahead and give up my final shield. I think the Mudshot farm down is going to be worth it. This is going to be a lot of energy if we can get that full farm down, which we do. This is huge. Now, they decide to come in with a Talonflame. And I decide to go for Scalds here. I think the better play is probably just going for Icy Winds for the debuff, but I didn't want them to try to call the neutral damage instead of the Scald super effective. So I just went for back-to-back Scalds to get myself a guaranteed shield. Now, obviously, Skeledirge is going to have to come in, but I decided to come in with Credilli, expecting them to swap out right away to Shadow Swampert. They clearly want to get ahead on energy with that Pokemon, and, well, that's what they did. And this is what happens, I've noticed, as I climb in rating. I can predict my opponents a lot better because they make what would be very sound decisions, and you can predict that. When you're a bit lower, maybe in rating, it's a bit chaotic. It can be a bit chaotic. So we get the double boom. Boom! Down goes the Talonflame, and that is going to be a good game, very well played. All right, moving to the next one. Skeledirge versus Azumarill. So this matchup isn't as bad as you might think it is. Azumarill is a water type. It does have bubble. But the only way we really gotta watch out for this matchup is the Hydro Pump, obviously. Play Rough and Ice Beam, though, are resisted. So what we're gonna look to do in Shadow Ball right there, look, Azumarill's at 50% HP. Yeah, Skeledirge, a fire type, going against the Azumarill here. Now we do see a swap out. And let me tell you this. Azumarill swaps out of a Skeledirge. That's something to say here as we have Disarming Voice. We're going to go ahead and try to get to another one, but I definitely can't get there in time, so I come in with Poliwrath. I should have just swapped out right away after throwing the Disarming Voice here against the Sableye, but the return will land, which is fine. And again, we do have Mudshot, so we get to charge moves a bit quicker than counter. And the Scald here will be enough neutral damage. Scald is a fantastic charge move. And they do decide to come in with their own Skeledirge. So they're running the Azumarill double ghost. But we get to the next Scald in time. This is crucial for us. And they decide to no shield. Boom! Nearly one-shots. All right, they have a charge move. We're going to come in with our own Skeledirge to soak that. as the Credilli can easily take down the Azumarill as they go for the Shadow Ball. And then this is going to be a good game, very well played. I basically just need to build up 2 double rock slides right here. But, I mean, come on. Skeledirge just went toe-to-toe against that Azumarill because it didn't have Hydro Pump. And even if it did, right, I gave up that shield on it. But you guys just saw how much damage. Incinerate, really, it's resisted and it's adding up. The Shadow Ball. I mean, we got it to 50% HP, and that was a crazy amount of damage. And Credilli here can easily close this game out as we take out the Azumarill and fast move down the Skeledirge. So that is going to be a good battle, very well played. All right, moving to the next one. Talonflame on the lead. So fire on fire. We'll have to see what charge moves they are going to be running. Basically, is it a Brave Bird or is it Fly? Now, either way, I'm going to probably look to shield here as I want to keep my Skeledirge alive, and we do land the Shadow Ball, which is perfect. This means that we can farm down the Talonflame before they get to another charge move. So I will give up the shield. It is going to be the Fly, which is fine, and they're deciding to stay in. So I'm totally fine with this. This is a free lead win, getting switch advantage with energy. They bring in a Stunfisk as well, which we have decent answers for, right? We got Shadow Ball, we got Scald and Icy Wind, and we have the heavily resisted Credilli. So we're going to go ahead and come in with Poliwrath, and they do bring out a Superior, which is totally fine. We can go for Icy Winds, and this is so much damage. Considering that it already drops the attack, the fact that it does that much damage from a Poliwrath is very, very good. Now, once again, this is Mud Shot and not, but we do get to the double Icy Wind. I don't think counter gets to double Icy Wind right there, but the Mud Shot does, which allows us to get the Superior extremely low. We still have our Credilli, and we still have Skeledirge, so we're going to go ahead and come in and farm down with that Skeledirge, get the 2 Incinerates in. Aerial Ace, not too worried about it. We're more concerned about the charge moves left on the Pancake here in the back, as we can let that one go through. They come in with the Stunfisk, so I'm going to go for the Disarming Voice right away. Yes, it's not the Shadow Ball, but I want to make sure I get that shield, and they do decide to CMP tie as well, which is totally fine, as I can come in with Credilli and close this game out as Mud Bomb will KO the Skeledirge there, and this is going to be a good game. Unfortunately for them, they don't have an out, and I think they surrendered. There it is. So we're going to go ahead and go for a Grassnon. That's going to be a good game, very well played. All right. Moving into the next battle, we have Skeledirge versus Charjabug on the lead. Another new kind of top meta Pokemon in the Play Pokemon Tournament series, so let's see what it can do. They come in with Shadow Poliwrath. Now, this Shadow Poliwrath is counter, as you guys can see from the fast moves, and I don't have great answers in the back. It's either the mirror or a lead or a loss because of the counter damage. So I actually have to stay in with Skeledirge. But what's interesting is the Incinerate is doing a decent amount of damage, and we do see that they have Icy Wind, and Disarming Voice is super effective, so I'm just going to keep going for it. I mean, why not? Skeledirge can easily take this right here. They decide to no-shield, which is totally fine, and then I'm going to no-shield this as well, as I think it's just going to be another Icy Wind. So I'm just going to let that go, and it was perfect. We resist that. So Skeledirge just took down the Poliwrath, and Charjabug coming back in. We're going to look to go for a Shadow Ball here. We already got them in the 1, so this Shadow Ball is going to do a lot of damage if they decide to no-shield, even though we have the debuff or the Icy Wind debuffs. And they're going to go ahead and look to farm me down, but they swap out into Registeel, and I hit Disarming Voice. I was anticipating another fighter potentially, so that's why I was trying to go for the Disarming Voice, but it was a Registeel. So now this game is going to get close. Thankfully, I have my Skeledirge still alive for a sacrificial swap, and Scald right here is doing a lot of neutral damage for us. I obviously need to watch out for Zap Cannon, so I'm going to go ahead and give up a shield here. And then this is why I kept the Skeledirge alive, is the potential sack swap, because that Charjabug has a lot of energy on the back end, right? So we need to be prepared for that, as if it has access to X, it does have access to X-Scissor. If it's running it, that is the dangerous thing. Now, the Registeel survives and gets another charge move, but it's only going to be a Focus Blast, which is not enough to KO. We will see the Charjabug come back in, so I'm going to go ahead and go for the Icy Wind. Could have gone for the Scald there, looking at that energy, but I wanted to make sure I get the attack drop. And now we're going to come in with the Credilli. If they do a fast move, which I'm hoping they do, but they don't. So now we're going to look to catch the charge move here on Skeledirge, as they might have the back-to-back X-Scissor. Yeah, so there's the first one. They do one more fast move, so I'm going to go ahead and swap here. And they did throw the charge move, which is perfect. This guarantees that I can survive this game, because 3 X-Scissors would have been enough to KO us, but we get to the Rock Slide in time. So obviously if we don't make that catch, we lose. Charjabug is a great Pokemon in the Great League meta right now. But Credilli is able to hang on, and having access to Rock Slide is a really nice coverage move for it. Boom! Down it goes, and that is going to be a good game, very well played. Alright, moving to the next one. Skeledirge versus Altaria. So this is why Disarming Voice is pretty clutch in the Great League meta right now. You got coverage against Darks. You got coverage against Fighters. You got coverage against Dragons, which is a really nice combination, especially when they have access to like Sableye or Altaria or maybe Poliwrath. Now, we do see the Shadow Goat safe swap in, catching my Disarming Voice. That's a huge catch from my opponent. I'm going to go ahead and shield this Shadow Bone, respect the damage from the Alolan Marowak, and look to go for a Scald here to KO. Thankfully, the Alolan Marowak is on the field. Credilli would have a bit of a tough time against that. So we get it out of the way, and we have Icy Wind ready to go for Altaria. And this is why Poliwrath, I think, is rising up to be the #1 fighter in the meta, is because Icy Wind is a lot more potent than an Ice Punch. It's a double whammy. You get the coverage, you get the low energy cost, and you also, it's a triple whammy, and you also get the debuff. Now we go down to the Sky Attack there, which is totally fine. We're going to let this switch clock go down, and then I'm going to come in with Credilli, and they actually have a Skeledirge in the back. So this is going to be a very dicey game for me, because I need to utilize either Rock Slide or Disarming Voice to kind of close this game out. So I'm going to swap into Skeledirge here, and then I'm going to try to CMP tie this Shadow Ball. Now they did one extra fast move as well, but I'm just going to go ahead and shield. We do get the shield on Shadow Ball, and now we're going to go ahead and go for our own, looking to force the final shield of this game for my opponent. So we do get it. And now they're going to have to throw a Shadow Ball in order to take me out, because if they don't, if they go for Disarming Voice here, it's not going to be enough to KO. And by forcing them to do that, it allows my Credilli to come in and easily go for a charge move, as this is not going to be Shadow Ball. It's not enough damage. And I'm concerned that Altaria might swap in here. And we're going to go ahead and overload on energy, and they do. So now I got to desperately go for the double Rock Slide, able to hang on right there with like 3 HP in a dream, as Credilli KOs the Altaria, and we have the Rock Slide ready to go for the Skeledirge. So kind of a dicey end game right there, but we were able to hang on, and good battle to my opponent. Boom! Down goes the Skeledirge. Nice job using the goat, by the way. Love it. Alright, Skeledirge on Skeledirge right here. This is a dicey lead to be in. It always is when you have mirror fights, especially with Pokemon who do super effective damage to themselves. So my least favorite lead in the game is Galarian Stunfisk versus Galarian Stunfisk for this exact reason. Is it an Earthquake or is it a Rock Slide? In this case, is it Disarming Voice or is it Shadow Ball? So I do get a shield there with the Disarming Voice, so I'm going to look to go for the Shadow Ball on CMP tie, but I lose the CMP tie, so I'm going to go ahead and shield. It is going to be double Shadow Ball from them, so they're deciding to, they're behind on energy, definitely, compared to me, so I'm going to go ahead and go for the Shadow Ball here. Boom! We get the Skeledirge down, and they come in with the Ferrothorn and a Credilli, and I'm like, oh boy. So we're going to go ahead and swap out into our own Credilli. Could have gone for the Shadow Ball there, but ultimately that Ferrothorn or Ferrothorn in the back is not gonna like my Skeledirge. So I think they made a slight mistake coming in with the Ferrothorn right away. But I think this is gonna be a good game. It's still gonna be close. Their Credilli has the opportunity to do a lot of super effective damage against my team. So there is no shields remaining. But I think my Skeledirge is going to be the key to victory, so I'm going to go ahead and just come in with Poliwrath and look to go for Icy Wind. And unfortunately, they get to the Grass Knot in time. This is still okay. The Grass Knot does not KO so long as I get this Icy Wind off. But I swap into Skeledirge to go for the farm down. And they swap into Ferrothorn right away. So we're going to go ahead and go for Shadow Ball. Now, unfortunately, Ferrothorn here is able to survive and get a charge move. So this is now a very dangerous game because if it's Thunder, we lose, but it was Power Whip. I guess in hindsight, we farmed down with Poliwrath with Mud Shot anyways, but Credilli now coming in. We can go for the Shadow Ball here, and then one fast move should be able to do it, as Credilli will go down. So that's going to be a good battle, very well played. Skeledirge taking down all 3 Pokemon. All right, next one. We have Sableye on the lead. We're going to go ahead and swap out into the Poliwrath right away. Get ahead on energy, and they bring in an Azumarill. So this is probably one of the toughest situations that you might run into, with Poliwrath being a very common and very top meta pick right now in the fighter slot. Azumarill's stock goes way up because Azumarill resists everything from Poliwrath: Scald, Dynamic Punch, Power Up Punch, Icy Wind, Hydro Pump, Ice Punch. Lord bless our TMs. But yeah, Azumarill does very well in this matchup because of its heavy resistances to everything. So all a Poliwrath can really do is apply some debuffs and pressure to get it set up to be hard farmed down by something else on your team. Now, Azumarill being strong because Poliwrath is strong makes Sableye a very good pairing with it. Those two go together very well because of Azumarill's coverage to Dark-type Pokemon and decent matchups against other fairies, right? So Sableye now does well against Skeledirge. So it's this this combative battle where Skeledirge and Poliwrath are very common and very strong. Well, Sableye and Azumarill are coming right back. So this is already going to be a tough game to come back from, but we're going to look to do it with Credilli. And they actually have Bastiodon in the back. So there is not a lot I can do, unfortunately. The Credilli right here is going to do its best to get the Bastiodon low. But ultimately, I just don't have enough health remaining to throw enough Grass Knots to get through 2 shields and take down the Bastiodon. So this is one of those teams where you're kind of triple locked down, even though Bastiodon is not a hard counter to Credilli. It is thick enough to survive in order to keep maintain the switch advantage. So we're just going to keep going for Grass Knots here. Try my best to get it low. I don't think I make it to another one, so I have to throw a Rock Slide, hoping that they decide to shield, and maybe Skeledirge could come in, but they smartly no shield, and that is going to be a good game. I'm down shields already. Sableye is coming in. There's just not a lot I can do. So good game to my opponent. Obviously, basically double hard countered and plus a wall. But yeah, not a lot you can do. That's one of those hard counter teams. Good game. All right, moving to the next one. Shadow Galvantula. Now, the game kind of bugged out on me. Funnily enough, there's a bug on the other side. It put my Credilli on the lead. I don't know why. I just queued up and Skeledirge was not on the lead. It was Credilli. So we're just going to play it. Obviously, I would have loved to have Skeledirge on this lead, right? Because they just, they're forced to swap out. But Rock Slide does really well in this matchup too as they swap out. And there's actually going to be a Bastiodon in the back. Now, the reason why I decided to come in with Skeledirge is to try to sneak through a fast move. When you have an opponent that is a Shadow Glassy Pokemon, so a Shadow Victory Bell, Shadow Swampert, a Shadow Galvantula, and you have a fast move that does super effective damage, that's the hard-hitting one, Razor Leaf, Smackdown, Charm, Incinerate in this case. Getting through a free fast move like that could be huge, and I know energy is my friend in the 1 shields here. So we're going to look to play with that as we come in with Poliwrath. Now, what's also cool about Poliwrath, we talked about the negatives against the Azumarill, right? The positives here is against Bastiodon, you resist everything. They have a Flash Cannon though, so that's a spicy moveset, but Flamethrower, Stone Edge, you resist that, and we get Mud Shot Farm Down. And now we get to see what they have in the back, and it's going to be a Shadow Whiscash. So, looks like Credilli is going to be a very strong core breaker for us because of the Rock Slide and Grass Knot combination. So we're going to go ahead and go for Icy Winds. kind of not soften up, but debuff the Shadow Whiscash here so that its Scald and Mud Bomb isn't going to do as much damage. They do get an attack drop with their Scald, which is unfortunate for us, but we're quite ahead on energy. So I'm going to look to go for one Scald here and then swap out into Credilli to get ahead on energy versus the Galvantula, because now I know that I can win the race to the next Rock Slide. They need, I believe, 3 more or 4 more. Yeah, they need 3. Yeah, they need 3 more. Well, back then they did. So what you're going to see here is we're going to go ahead and shield the Lunge, and then we should be able to get to this Rock Slide as we beat it based on the turn timings. And a Rock Slide right here, even with the Lunge debuff, boom, is enough to KO. And then obviously Whiscash is going to go down to either this fast move or it's going to go down to Poliwrath, which has a charge move loaded. So that will be a good game, very well played. So even though we had a funky mix-up there with the Credilli going on the lead instead of Skeledirge, we were able to overcome. And this team, honestly, a lot of fun. I completely understand why it is the top-performing team on PV Poke this week. They're really good, and I think it gets better the more you play with it and the more you understand this team's synergies. Now, I believe PV Poke has Credilli on the lead, but I do like the Skeledirge on the lead because of its energy farm downs and what it can do on the back end. And I think with a Skeledirge lead and a Poliwrath safe swap, you draw out maybe some grass type Pokemon, maybe some flyers, and with Poliwrath with Mudshot, you have the Scald and Icy Wind, depending on the situation, to set yourself up like we've seen today. So I hope you guys have a wonderful holiday season here as we come to the end of December. Maybe give this team a try. Check out some of these Pokemon. Add them to your roster. I definitely think they are worth adding. If you can only pick 2 from this roster, I would definitely go with Skeledirge and Poliwrath, as a Credilli may not be something accessible to you right now, but if you can build it, get it built. My IVs are terrible. It's the best one I have. I'm still hunting for a good PvP IV to replace it later, but my Skeledirge and Poliwrath are pretty good. So hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and like always, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.